Yeah. Would you like to maybe watch TV before we get to class? Yeah. Okay. Let's watch a new TV, okay? Okay. Good. Good. Couldn't watch that if I were you. Oh wait, there's one. Really? Yeah, I just thought about something. Oh, it's gone. It's okay. It's still here. Really? Mm-hmm. Let me see that new PP. It's from JP Anime. Shut up, please. Okay, here we go. Let's see. This is Data Live 10th anniversary. Really? Hmm. It's like a fourth season by Kadokawa. Really? Who fell into the earth? Was that a guy or something? Well, it looks like a guy. Oh, he's opening his eyes. Well, it's gonna fall into the earth. Really? Wow. The alien creatures, huh? Oh, this is so cute. Yeah, there are a lot of girls. One boy has it. But she's so cute too. How come she's so cute? You know, it's like they're battling each other. They're battling the battleships. Oh, really? I don't know what that means. Looks like him over there. So cool that the boy has. Yeah. Have you watched Day of Life there? I don't know how to watch Day of Life. It's cool. Yeah. It's a really good Day of Life sequel. Fourquel. Hey, do films have a fourquel? Fourquel? Yeah, fourquel. A fourquel. Yeah. I wish they could have a fourquel. Yeah, fourquel, huh? It's a film fourquel. Okay. Looks like we're gonna have to search it up, right? Yeah. Search it out, okay? Alright, we'll do that. So let's put on this fourquel. Okay. Okay. Film fourquel. Fourquel? Looks like a fourquel. Fourquels I've seen. The film trilogy. There's like best fourquels by Price Rocky. I don't know, maybe. Fourquel I've seen. It's on IMDb, right? IMDb. Yeah. The fourquel is Avengers Endgame. A Nightmare on Elm Street 4. Toy Story 4. Star Trek 4. Live Free and Die Hard. Rambo. Shrek 4D. Red Salvation. Lethal Weapon 4. Fast and Furious. Alien Resurrection. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Scream 4. The Final Destination. Pirates of the Caribbean 4. Harry Potter 4. Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. Saw 4. Resident Evil Afterlife. Scream Scary Movie 4. Batman and Robin. Police Academy 4. Citizens on Patrol. Transformers Age of Extinction. The Twilight Saga for Breaking Dawn Part 1. Star Wars Episode 1. The Phantom Menace. Jason Bourne. Jurassic World. Hunger Games Part 2. Message Continual Drift. The Predator. Brian and Chucky. Friday the 13th and Final Chapter. Hey, you know what this fourquel is? What? Jason Bourne or where's it gonna be? Good question. What is it gonna be? Right between fourquels in there. Jason Bourne is the one. Who's Jason Bourne? Jason Bourne. Oh, Jason Bourne. Wikipedia. Okay, good. This is about Jason Bourne, huh? What's the sequel to? There's only one in the future. Jason Bourne, huh? Yeah. Okay, there's a fourquel. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 4 clones. Yeah. The Bourne identity. The Bourne identity. Supremacy. Ultimatum. Legacy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 3, 2, 1. It is. The Bourne supremacy. Tell it all Bourne, huh? Yeah. And there's ultimatums here. They're probably like the Bourne legacy. Yeah. Do you like Jason Bourne? Think about this. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna go for class now. Okay. Hey, this is so good. Hold it. Shh. Quiet, please. Thank you for staying quiet, class. Hello, class. Welcome to this week's film lesson. I might not be here at Lois College, but I might be here at Walt Disney World to go to Adventureland and Magic Kingdom and stay at the hotel called Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. Alright, so first, we will be doing home re-releases. On today, we will be doing The Addams Family 2. (2021) film. Here's a plot to this film. At a science fair, Wednesday Addams is set to present her experiment where she uses her pet squid Socrates' DNA on Uncle Fester to show how humans can be improved, with the side effect of gradually transmutating Fester. However, she is dismayed when she sees her family arrive. Nonetheless, her work gets noticed by scientist Cyrus Strange. Back at the Addams home, Gomez worries that the children are drifting apart from him and Morticia, so he decides to take them on a family vacation. Before the family, Fester, Thane, and Lurch head on a road trip across the United States. Gomez and Morticia are approached by a lawyer named Mr. Mastella, who claims that Wednesday was witched at birth and may not actually be an Addams. But they ignore him. On the road, the Addams family is pursued by Mastella and his brutish henchman Pongo. The family is initially set on going to Salem, Massachusetts, but Fester ends up making a detour to Niagara Falls. The family later stops in Sleepy Hollow, New York. Gomez and Morticia bring up Mastella and his claims about Wednesday, so Fester mentions the story when he visited Wednesday the day when she was born and juggled babies in the delivery room. This only worsens Gomez and Morticia's fears, and Wednesday may not be their biological child, which Wednesday overhears. Gomez brings everyone to Miami to get in touch with cousin Lit in hopes he can help with their current dilemma. It joins them on the trip as they pass through San Antonio and leaves the family early at the Grand Canyon. Meanwhile, Wednesday traps Mostilla on her own and learns he is working for Cyrus. He suggests to Wednesday that he is her true father and invites her to his home in Sausalito, California. Wednesday runs a DNA test using Gomez's hair, which seemingly proves that she most certainly is not his daughter. Wednesday leaves the family while they sleep, but Lurch catches up with her. The rest of the Addams learn where she is heading and follow suit. At his home, Cyrus shows Wednesday a formula he developed to make human-animal hybrids. It's similar to Wednesday's experiment, When the rest of the Adams family shows up, Wednesday is convinced to stay with Cyrus after Pugsley finds out that Cyrus' daughter, Ophelia, is a pig. Cyrus reveals he was using Wednesday as her formula was better than his. He captures the family to test on them, but Wednesday refuses to do so. Cyrus tries to get Pongo to go after her, but it is revealed Lurch and Pongo knew each other before while in the mental asylum, and they decide to free the Adams. Cyrus comes in contact with his formula during the scuffle and turns into a hybrid monster. The Doctor tries to kill the family, but is stopped by Fester, who was mutated into an octopus monster after the two fight. Cyrus falls off a cliff. Fester is turned back to normal by Wednesday using a necklace of her family's blood. Wednesday reunites with her family and they return home, while Wednesday knew that Cyrus faked his DNA test results. Gomez reveals to Wednesday that his hair is a toupee, answering why her test indicated she was unrelated to him, and promises the family that next time he will take them on a trip across the world. Alright, that's all that. Wait, on tomorrow, sorry class, I didn't say about, I did not say that's all the whole relations we got, but I have to still continue it. Okay, so on tomorrow, we will be doing any live. On tomorrow, we will be doing Last Night in Soho, 2021 film. Here's a plot to this film. Aloy Ellie Turner loves the music and fashion of the swinging 60s and dreams of becoming a fashion designer. Her mother, also a designer, killed herself during Ellie's childhood. Ellie occasionally sees her mother's ghost in mirrors. Ellie moves from her rural home near Redruth, Cornwall, into London in order to study at the London College of Fashion, where she has trouble fitting in with her peers, particularly her snobbish roommate Jocasta. Only John, another student, is sympathetic to her. Unhappy in the hall of residence, Ellie moves into a bedsit owned by the elderly Miss Collins. That night, Ellie has a vivid dream in which she is transported back in time to the 1960s. At the Café de Paris, she observes a confident young blonde woman, Cindy, inquire about becoming a singer at the club. Cindy begins a relationship with the charming teddy boy manager, Jack. The next morning, Ellie designs a dress inspired by Cindy and discovers a love bite on her neck. Ellie has another dream in which Cindy successfully auditions at a Soho nightclub arranged by Jack. Before returning to the same bedsit that Ellie has rented, inspired by these visions, Ellie dyes her hair blonde, changes her fashion style to match Cindy's, uses her as an inspiration for her dress design, and gets a job at a pub. She is observed by silver-haired men who recognizes her similarities to Cindy. In further dreams, Ellie discovers Cindy is not living the life that she had hoped for, and Jack begins to pimp Cindy to his male business associates. In her waking life, Ellie is disturbed by increasingly menacing apparitions that resemble Jack and the men who abused Cindy. She flees to a Halloween party she attends with John after the spirits accost her there. John returns with her to her bedsit, where she has a vision of Jack murdering Cindy. Ellie decides to track down the silver-haired man who she believes is Jack. She goes to the police, but she is not taken seriously. Ellie attempts to find newspaper reports about Cindy's murder in the university library, but is unsuccessful. Instead, finding stories of local men who vanished without a trace, the spirits again manifest, and she nearly stabs Jocasta in a panic, believing she must avenge Cindy. Ellie confronts the silver-haired man who frequents the pub where she works. He angrily denies killing Cindy, but is struck by a taxi and killed while leaving the pub. The pub landlady reveals the man's name to be Lindsay, and Ellie recalls encountering him in her dreams. She was an undercover vice officer who tried to help Cindy escape for a life of prostitution. Devastated, Ellie decides to leave London and John Doe drives her back to Miss Collins' house. She informs Miss Collins that she is leaving. Miss Collins tells her that a detective came by asking about Cindy's murder before revealing that she is actually Cindy. She explains that Ellie's prior vision of Cindy's death was in fact a vision of Cindy killing Jack when he threatened her with the knife. She then alerted the men she was pimped back to her room and killed them, hiding their bodies in the house's floorboards and walls. Miss Collins also reveals she drugged Ellie's tea and intends to kill her to ensure her silence. In the ensuing scuffle, a cigarette from Miss Collins' ashtray ignites a box of records. John comes to Ellie's aid, but Miss Collins stabs him. Ellie flees to her room, where the spirits of Cindy's victims beg Ellie to kill Miss Collins, but she refuses. Miss Collins enters Ellie's room, where she too sees the spirits and is slapped by the ghost of Jack. With the police outside, she attempts to slit her own throat, but is stopped by Ellie, who tells her she understands why she killed the men. Miss Collins, as Cindy, tells Ellie to save herself and John from the growing fire. Cindy stays in the building as it burns. Sometime later, Ellie enjoys success as her dresses are showcased at a fashion show. She is congratulated backstage by her grandmother and John, now her boyfriend. Ellie sees her mother's spirit in a mirror, and then a vision of Cindy, who waves at her and blows her a kiss. Alright. On Wednesday, we will be doing The Guilty 2021 film. Here's the plot to this film. Troubled LAPD officer Joe Baylor is working the night shift at the 911 call center while he awaits a court hearing for an incident that occurred on duty 8 months prior. He answers a call from a woman named Emily Lighton, who reveals she has been abducted. Joe learns that she and her abductor are traveling on a white van, but Emily is forced to hang up before she can provide more details. Joe relays the information to the California Highway Patrol, but they are unable to locate the van without a license plate number. Joe calls Emily's home phone and speaks with her 6-year-old daughter, Abby, who tells Joe that her mom left the house with her dad. Henry Fisher, after getting Henry's cell phone number from Abby, Joe is unable to retrieve the van's plate number, which he relays to the CHP. He also sends a patrol car to check on Abby and her baby brother, Oliver. Joe learns Henry has a record of assault. He calls Henry and demands to know where he is taking Emily, but Henry hangs up. Joe then calls his former partner, Rick, who is off duty, and asks him to visit Henry's house. Rick expresses concern about Joe's hearing, at which he is sent to provide testimony. Joe receives a panicked call from Abby. When two officers arrive at her home, he instructs her to let them in. The officers notice blood on Abby and, upon searching the property, find Oliver in the bedroom, either gravely injured or dead. Joe then calls Emily back and convinces her to pull the handbrake of the van, which she does, but it fails to crash the vehicle. Henry puts Emily into the back of the van. She tearfully tells Joe that she believed Oliver that had snakes in his stomach and that she took them out. When Henry stops the van and tries to remove Emily from the back, she hits him with a brick and flees. Meanwhile, Rick breaks into Henry's apartment and finds a document from a psychiatric treatment facility in San Bernardino, where Emily had been a patient. Joe calls Henry again, who explains he was taking Emily back to the facility. She had been off her medication for a number of weeks because they could not afford them, and during a psychotic episode, unintentionally hurt Oliver. Henry says he did not report the incident but to the police because he does not trust the criminal justice system. Emily calls Joe back from a freeway overpass, implying that she is preparing to die by suicide. Joe directs the CHP to her location while attempting to talk her down. He tries to distract her by revealing that he had killed a 19-year-old while on duty because he was angry with him for hurting someone and because I could. Joe tells Emily that Abby needs her and that he promised Abby she would come home. As officers arrive, Emily says she is gotta go be with Oliver, and the line goes dead. Joe thinks that she has jumped, but later he gets a message from the CHP saying that they got her to come down safely. He also learns that Oliver is alive and in the ICU at the hospital. In the restroom, a distraught Joe calls Rick and asks him to recant his previous statement about the incident. He asks Rick to tell the truth at the hearing, even if it means he will spend years in prison. Joe then calls the Los Angeles Times, apparently to inform a reporter that he will plead guilty to a charge of manslaughter, but he never hear him say it as it fades to black. Alright. On Thursday, we will be doing Grumpy Cat's Worst Christmas Ever. 2014 film. Here's the plot to this film. Grumpy Cat is a lonely and grumpy cat living in a mall pet shop that is slated to be closed. She is bitter at being constantly passed over for other animals in the store, but is surprised to find that she can communicate with Crystal, an equally lonely 12-year-old girl who is shocked that Grumpy Cat can talk. The two are initially at odds, but start to befriend each other, especially after a high-priced Leon Burger dog is dog-napped from the pet shop for its value. Alright, on Friday, we will be doing Tommy's Honor. 2016 film. Here's a plot to this film. In St. Andrews, Scotland of 1866, 15-year-old Tommy Morris, Jack Lowden, is an avid golfer like his legendary and pioneering father, Tom Morris. Peter Mullen, old Tom, is greenskeeper for the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews, as well as the town's club and ball maker. He is the two-time winner of the first major golf tournament, the Open Championship, which was founded in 1860 by James Ogilvy Fairley, Tom's mentor. He also established golf's standard of 18 holes per round, but young Tommy is beginning to chafy at his father's dictates, especially in the rapidly changing world they live in. Tommy soon outshines his father, winning the Open 3 times in a row while still in his teens. The dashing young man of golf, he draws flocks of spectators to the sport and becomes its first touring professional. Father and son repeatedly clash over the unwritten rules of social class, and this culminates when Tommy marries his sweetheart Meg, Ophelia Lovimond, a woman of lower standing with a shameful secret in her past. As the story concludes, old Tom makes a fatal misjudgment that strips Tommy of everything he holds dear. Following the result of that fateful choice, old Tom takes on a personal mission that carries him through the final decades of his life, that of honoring his son Tom. Alright, also on Friday, we will be doing Pooh's Grand Adventure. The Search for Christopher Robin, 1997 film. Here's the plot to this film. On the last day of summer, Christopher Robin attempts to tell his friend Winnie the Pooh some sad news, but Pooh is uninterested and continuously changes the subject. After spending the day playing, Christopher Robin leaves Pooh with a quote, "You're braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think." But the drowsy Pooh does not understand the sentiment. Autumn arrives the next morning, and Pooh wakes to find a pot of honey at his doorstep, failing to notice a note attached to it. After eating the contents of staining the note on honey, Pooh searches for Christopher Robin to ask about the honey pot, but discovers that he is missing. Pooh's friends, Piglet, Tigger, Rabbit, and Eeyore, have not seen Christopher Robin either, and cannot decipher the note attached to the pot, so they go to Owl for advice. Although he is able to remove some of the honey from the note, Owl misinterprets it as a request for help from Christopher Robin, further mispronouncing the word school as skull. He deduces that Christopher Robin has been taken to a distant and dangerous place called Skull, a cave where a monstrous Skullsaurus resides. Owl equips the group with a map and sends them into the great unknown of the 100-acre wood. Throughout their journey through the great unknown, the group hears strange noises behind them, which they assume that is the Skullsaurus. The group slowly begins to realize just how helpless they are without Christopher Robin in the outside world. Piglet, Tigger, and Rabbit come to believe they do not have the courage, strength, and intelligence, respectively, to go on. Piglet is abducted by a swarm of butterflies in a tranquil field, leaving him feeling terrified and useless. Tigger falls into a deep gorge and is unable to bounce out to safety, eventually causing the others to dive in with him. And Rabbit continuously makes bad leadership decisions following Owl's inaccurate map. Pooh tries to comfort each other with the advice Christopher Robin had given him, but fails due to his inability to remember exactly what he said. When Rabbit finally breaks down and admits he has no idea where they are going, the group comes to terms with their failure and sulk in the nearby cave. While everyone is asleep, Pooh privately laments on the pain he experiences from losing Christopher Robin. The next morning, the five friends realize they had spent the night in the Skull Cave. The group enters the splits up to find Christopher Robin. When Rabbit, Tigger, Piglet, and Eeyore eventually reunite, they are scared away by Pooh's distorted reflection that he walks towards them from behind a crystal wall, mistaking him for a Skullosaurus. As Pooh winds up stuck in a small crevice, his friends believe that he has been eaten. They discover the Eye of Skull, where Christopher Robin is supposedly trapped, and overcome their fears and doubts to reach it. Observing his friends' teamwork, Pooh excitedly frees himself from the tight gap, only to slip down a long descent and fall into a deep pit that he is unable to escape. While there, he realizes that Christopher Robin is still with him in his heart, even when they are not together, just as Christopher Robin had promised. As Piglet, Rabbit, Tigger, and Eeyore enter the Eye, they are found by Christopher Robin, who has been searching for them as well. He clears up Owl's misunderstanding of the note, explaining that he wanted Pooh to help himself to the honey pot he gave him, and that he was really at school, which is what Christopher Robin tried to tell Pooh earlier. The roars of the Skullosaurus they have been plagued by were actually the noises of Pooh's stomach growling. After Christopher Robin rescues Pooh from the pit, the group exits the cave, only to discover that from the outside, it and the other places they have crossed are not nearly as big and scary as they seemed when Christopher Robin has not with them. Their frightening appearances were all just illusions. That evening, after the group returns home, Christopher Robin says that he will be returning to school the next day, but Pooh declares that he will always be waiting for him, and the two happily watch the sunset, knowing they will always have each other in the sanctuary of the Hundred Acre Wood. Alright, also on Friday, we will be doing Bambi, 1942 film. Here's the plot to this film. A doe gives birth to a fawn named Bambi, who will one day take over the position of Great Prince of the Forest, a title currently held by Bambi's father, who guards the woodland creatures against the dangers of hunters. The fawn is quickly befriended by an eager, energetic rabbit named Thumper, who helps to teach him to walk and speak. Bambi grows up very attached to his mother, with whom he spends most of his time. He soon makes other friends, including a young skunk named Flower and a female fawn named Feline. Curious and inquisitive, Bambi frequently asks about the world around him and is cautioned about the dangers of life as a forest creature by his loving mother. One day, out in the meadow, Bambi briefly sees the great prince, but does not realize that he is his father. As the great prince wanders uphill, he discovers a human hunter named Man by all the animals is coming and rushes down to a meadow to get everyone to safety. Bambi is briefly separated from his mother during that time, but is escorted to her by the great prince as the three of them make it back in the forest, just as Man fires his gun. During Bambi's first winter, he and Thumper play in the snow while Flower hibernates. One day, his mother takes him along to find food when Man shows up again. As they escape, his mother is shot and killed by the hunter, leaving the little fawn mournful and alone. Taking pity on his abandoned son, the great prince leads Bambi home as he reveals to him that he is his father. Next year, Bambi has matured into a young stag, and his childhood friends have also entered young adulthood. They are warned of twitterpation by friend Owl, and that they will eventually fall in love. Although the trio views the concept of romance with scorn, however, Thumper and Flower soon encounter their beautiful romantic counterparts and abandon their former thoughts of law and love. Bambi himself encounters Feline as a beautiful doe. However, their courtship is quickly interrupted by and challenged by a belligerent older stag named Rono, who attempts to force Feline away from Bambi. Bambi successfully manages to defeat Rono in battle and earn the rights to the doe's affection. Bambi is awakened afterward by the smell of smoke. He follows it and discovers it leads to a hunter camp. His father warns Bambi that man has returned with more hunters. Although Bambi is separated from Feline in the turmoil and searches for her along the way, the two flee to safety. He soon finds her cornered by man's vicious hunting dogs, which he manages to ward off. Bambi escapes them and is shot by men, but survives. Meanwhile, at the men's camp, their campfire suddenly spreads into the forest, resulting in a wildfire from which the forest residents flee in fear. Bambi and his father, Feline, and the forest animals manage to reach shelter on the riverbank. The following spring, Feline gives birth to twins under Bambi's watchful eye as the new great prince of the forest. Alright. Also on Friday, we will be doing the Mighty Ducks 1992 film. Here's a plot to this film. Gordon Bombay, Emilio Estevez, is an arrogant but successful Minneapolis defense attorney. After his 30th successful case, he celebrates by going out drinking, but is arrested by drunk driving and sentenced to 500 hours of community service. By coaching the local District 5 Pee Wee hockey team, Bombay has an unpleasant history with the sport. As a youth of 1973, he was the Hawks' star player, but struggling with the loss of his father, he missed a penalty shot in the championship game, disappointing his hyper-competitive coach, Jack Raley. Lane Smith. The Hawks went on to lose in overtime, becoming on one of their only championship defeats. Bombay meets the District 5 team and realizes the children have no practice facility, equipment, or ability. Their first game with Bombay at the helm is against the Hawks. Raley is still the Hawks head coach, and despite a nearly broken championship streak, remains bitter about Gordon's missed penalty shot. District 5 is soundly defeated as Raleigh demands the Hawks run up the score. Bombay berates the team for not listening to him, and the players challenge his authority for the next match. Bombay tries to teach his team how to dive and draw penalties, which results in another loss, this time to the Jets, angering the team further. Specifically, one player, Charlie Conway, Joshua Jackson, who refused to fake an injury like Bombay instructed him to. Bombay visits his old mentor Hans, Josh Ackland, who owns a nearby sporting goods store and was in attendance at the game against the Hawks. While there, Bombay recalls that he quit playing hockey after losing his father 4 months before the championship game, and because Rayleigh blamed him for the loss due to the missed penalty shot. Hans encourages him to rekindle his childhood passion for the sport by skating in a frozen pond like he did when he was a kid. Realizing the error of his ways, he apologizes to Charlie and his mother at their home. Bombay approaches his boss, Earl Ducksworth, Joseph Sommer, to sponsor the team, allowing them to purchase professional-grade equipment as opponent to the makeshift equipment they had, and give Bombay time to teach the players fundamentals. They recruit the three new players: figure skating siblings Tommy Denny Temborell and Timmy Duncan and Jane Paul Plank, and slapshot specialist and enforcer Walton Reed, Eldon Hudson, and potential of Charlie catches Bombay's eye. He takes Charlie under his wing and teaches him some of the tactics he used playing the Hawks, renamed the Ducks. After Ducksworth, the team plays its next game against the Canadian Cardinals to a tie. Bombay learns that, due to restricting the Hawks, star player Adam Banks, Vincent LaRosso, lives in the District 5 and should be playing for the Ducks, and threatens Rayleigh into transferring Banks to the Ducks. After overhearing an out-of-context quote about the team, most of the players walk out except Charlie and Fulton, who form a strong friendship, resulting in a loss of forfeit to the Flames. The Ducks lose faith in Bombay, and with an exception, Charlie and Fulton revert to their old habits. Ducksworth makes a deal with Rayleigh for the Hawks to keep Banks, which Bombay, although initially tempted, refuses on the principles of fair play, which Ducksworth berated him about when he started this community service, left with the choice of letting his team down or being fired from his job. He takes that latter. Bombay manages to regain his players' trust after they win a crucial match against the Huskies in order to qualify for the playoffs, and Banks, who decided to play with the Ducks, rather than not play the hockey at all, proves to be an asset, though Jesse doesn't trust him. The Ducks march through the playoffs and with wins against the Hornets and the Cardinals, reaching the championship game against the Hawks. Rayleigh orders his team to injure Banks to force him out of the game. In spite of this, the Ducks manage to tie late in the final period, and Charlie is tripped by a Hawks player as time expires. In precisely the same situation Bombay faced in his youth, Charlie prepares for a game-deciding penalty shot, in stark contrast to Rayleigh, who told Bombay that if he missed, he was letting everyone down. Bombay tells Charlie to take his best shot and that he will believe in him no matter what. Inspired, Charlie fakes out the goalie with a triple decade. Bombay taught him and scores, winning the state championship. The Ducks players and their families race into the ice of jubilation, where Bombay thanks Hans for his belief in him, and Hans tells Bombay he is proud of him. As Gordon is handed and raises the championship trophy, the team all rally around him and chant "Ducks" repeatedly and in triumphant unison. Some days later, Bombay boards a bus into a minor league tryout, secured for him by the NHL's Basil McRae of the Minnesota North Stars, who played Pee-wee hockey with him as a youth. Although daunted at the prospect of going up against younger players, he receives the same words of encouragement and advice from the Ducks he had given them, promising to return next season to defend their title. Alright, also on Friday, we will be doing In the Heights, Tessa 21 film. Here's the plot to this film. Usnavi de la Vega tells 4 children the story of Washington Heights. 10 years earlier, Usnavi is the owner of the bodega in the neighborhood after chasing off Graffiti Pete, a street artist who was attempting to spray paint a bodega's security shutters. He introduces Abuela Claudia, the neighborhood in matriarch, a woman who raised him after the death of his parents, Kevin Rosario, who runs a taxi company, Kevin's employee, and Nusnavi's best friend Benny, the beauty salon ladies Danelia, Carla, and Kuka, his cousin Sonny, a teenager who works in a bodega, and Vanessa, who won with Nusnavi, has a unrequited crush in the Heights. Alejandro, an attorney and family friend, informs Nusnavi his late father's business in the Dominican Republic, which he dreams of reviving, is for sale. Meanwhile, Kevin's daughter Nina returns from Stanford University after seeing Benny's dispatch. She finds her father, telling him she cannot pay tuition, but he brushes her off, telling her not to breathe. Daniela's son is moving to the Bronx due to rising rents in Manhattan. Nina arrives for treatment and reconnects with the ladies, but eventually reveals that she has dropped out of Stanford and leaves no Midiga. Vanessa submits a rental application downtown, where she dreams of becoming a fashion designer, but her application is rejected. It won't be long now. She heads to Yasnavi's bodega, where Sony asks her out for him. Sony learns a lottery ticket. Bodega sold one $96,000 at the public pool. Everybody in the neighborhood fantasizes about what they would do with the money. 96,000. While the neighborhood Paraguayo laments how he has not lost business to a Mr. Softy Truck Paragua. That weekend, Benny and Nina reminiscence about their childhoods. She expresses her doubts and fears, but he reassures her she is destined for greatness when you're home. Meanwhile, Asnavi talks to Sonny's father, about letting Sonny come with him to the Dominican Republic, but Sonny's father replies that he and Sonny are undocumented immigrants and cannot leave. That evening, Kevin reveals he sold his business to pay for Nina's tuition. Outraged, she refuses the money, revealing the real reason she dropped out was the racism she experienced, and storms out. Asnavi and Vanessa head to the salsa club for their date. At the club, Asnavi is nervous and aloof, and he declines to dance with Vanessa. A man steals her away for a dance, allowing multiple men to dance with her. In return, Asnavi tries to make Vanessa jealous by dancing with another woman. The power goes out, and Sonny and Graffiti Pete light up fireworks, illuminating the neighborhood. Vanessa and Asnavi argue and she rejects him. Blackout. Lying in bed, Abula reminisces about her childhood in Cuba and how she came to Nueva York, enduring hardships to be where she is today. Paciencia Ife. She dies peacefully, and the neighborhood becomes together to mourn and sing her praises. Alabenza, at the protest of DACA, Sonny learns that he cannot go to college as he is an undocumented immigrant, learning his. Nina resolves to go back to Stanford to find a way for undocumented immigrant children to find a pathway in life. As Navi finds Vanessa's rental application in the trash, he visits Daniela, asking her to co-sign on Vanessa's application. Disappointed with the blocks, negativity over the power outage, and Abulela's death, Daniela rouses the neighborhood into a celebration, Carnaval del Barrio, and the power outage ends. Vanessa and Asnavi reconcile. A month later, Nina is about to return to Stanford. Benny promises to find a way to join her in Palo Alto, and they kiss when the sun goes down. As Asnavi prepares to leave for the Dominican Republic, he discovers that Albila held the winning lottery ticket and has left it for him. Vanessa arrives, the champagne, having found out that Asnavi got Daniela to co-sign on her lease. She suggests Asnavi stay, but he refuses. She kisses him, lamenting that he was too late and realizing her feelings before leaving Champagne. Asnavi gives Alejandro the lottery ticket, telling him to use it for Sony's DACA fees. The next morning, Vanessa takes Asnavi to a bodega and shows him a fashion line she created the previous night, inspired by Graffiti Pete's work. Seeing Pete's murals celebrating Mobula, Asnavi decides to stay. The story returns to the present day, where it is revealed that Asnavi is telling his story in the remodeled bodega, and that one of the children is Asnavi, and Vanessa's daughter, Iris. Everyone sings and dances in the street, while Asnavi expresses his elation at being in Washington Heights, where he has always belonged. Finale. In a post-credit scene, a Mr. Softy truck breaks down in the Paraguayo celebrates his victory by raising prices by a dollar, then gives the ice cream man a free cup of shaved ice for a reprise. Alright, that's all the home video releases we got. So second, we will be doing TV series over home video releases. It is about Nagiasu Alone in the Sea episodes. It's about episode 3. The Tradition of the Sea. As Akari is scolded by her father for disobeying the village's rules, Akari reminisces about how she always took care of him after their mother's death, and is later informed by Kari she has decided that she decided to break up with her boyfriend while visiting their old school building. The boys plan to how they will confront Itaru about his relationship with Kari. While waiting for them in the music room, Chisaki asks Manaka if she likes Sumugu. Manaka replies that she isn't sure, not realizing that the boys can overhear her just outside the room. Manaka wonders if she will go out with Sumugu and if they would kiss, and if she would one day get married and have to leave the village. After hearing this, Akari walks in acting as though he hadn't heard any Manaka's confession. The next day, Akari confronts Itaru and follows him up to Sumugu's house, where he is stopped by Sumugu's grandfather, who explains to him that, aside from the bad mood with the inhabitants of the service, people from the village are not allowed to marry those born from outside, as their children will be born without Enna. The children become unable to survive underwater, and thus the former inhabitants are forced to leave Shio to raise them. Hikari discovers that Sumugu's grandfather also came from the village. On the next day, Hikari stops being hostile to Tsumugu, and he becomes friends with the rest of the group after they finally complete the offering together. Knowing how much she was suffering with their separation, Hikari decides to make amends with Hikari's boyfriend, but is stopped by the two girls who fought him before one of them reveals that said man is her father. Alright, That's all the TV series over home video lasers we got. So third, we will be doing SpongeBob SquarePants. We will be doing the Emma Monkey Pictures and Roman Cow Productions and Donkey Teeth Company shorts. It is about SpongeBob SquarePants Season 1. In episode 1C is Tea at the Tree Dome. SpongeBob meets and befriends a squirrel named Cindy Cheeks. Cindy invites SpongeBob over to her tree dome for tea, but when he arrives, it is surprised to find that there is no water in the tree dome. He tries to act like he is used to Cindy's air. Despite needing water to breathe, Patrick Slater comes to the tree dome, not knowing that there is no water in there. Cindy finds SpongeBob and Patrick shriveled up, so he gives them water helmets to solve the problem. Note, this is the first regular episode. Alright, that's all the shorts we got. So forth, we will be doing Samsung Galaxy S22 series. It is about Mimi, who has become a Harry Potter as a wizard. She befriends Beatrice and Horace as Ron and Hermione to Hogwarts School, and Mimi confronts the monsters in the bathroom stall, and Hermione Granger, as Beatrice, comes to realize that she finds a book of a cover by J.K. Rowling, and is able to use a spell to cast the monsters into a slug, and that she finds the slug is being used as an insect who has been disgusted by other students. And so Mimi is a Harry Potter. Alright. That's all I got for today. Let's do some work now. Hey! Hi! Hi! Do you wanna come with me to Adventureland and Magic Kingdom? Yeah! Okay, let's go. Okay, good.